welcome to the video, everybody. I don't know what that accent was. We're here for our second month reading wrap up for June. I read 6 books this month, not as much as last month, but that's okay. Anyway, so we'll get started with the first book, Mockingjay. This book was so good. I read it from May 28th, 2025 to June 2nd, 2025. I gave it 5 stars. I gave the first 2 books 4 stars. This one was definitely such a good conclusion. I watched the movies before I read the books, and I always loved the movies. And now that I've read all the books, I can appreciate the movies so much more for just how well done they were. I love how in the movies they added Effie into the final 2 movies, whereas she wasn't present in District 13. Spoilers, kind of, not really. I mean, like mild spoilers. So that was, I think, a really good change on Elizabeth's part, the actress for Effie, for her to push that. I think it was a really good decision for like a creative liberty and creative change for the adaptation. But yeah, while this book was extremely depressing, it was very like well thought out and meaningful, and I just think it was so well done, and I loved it. I loved this book. Anyway, yeah, that is Mockingjay. Those are my thoughts. After Mockingjay, I read a recommendation from my coworker. Always getting the recommendations. Also, I did redecorate my Kindle. The next book I read was Still Beating. I read it from June 3rd, 2025 to June 8th, 2025. I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was really interesting, and I feel like it's really hard for a book to like pull you in for the first few pages, but this book really did that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I really liked that it was like really fast paced in the beginning. Around 30%, it really slowed down. Yeah, it was a bit hard to get through in the middle. It was a really good read, but just slow in the middle, definitely. It felt like it could have been quite a few pages shorter. But overall, it was a pretty good book. Very dark. Don't read it if you're sensitive. And not dark in the normal dark romance way. It's kind of like, it's just a little bit, it's just different from your typical dark romance and how it is dark. But I don't typically like dark romance, but this one was like, I liked it more than I typically like dark romances because it was so different. Basically, the main character gets kidnapped with her sister's fiance, and then they have to kind of confide in each other when they've always kind of bickered with one another and like hated each other, to make it through together. So like, lots of trauma bonding going on in this book. Isn't my dog so cute? She's a little hot right now because I just took her for a walk. So that's why she's panting. She's a little uncomfy right now. Anyway, next book I read in June was Fearless, the 3rd installment in the Powerless trilogy. This book was so good. I loved this book. I also tabbed it. I didn't highlight because I didn't feel like highlighting, but I did tab just like that. Anyway, I read this book from June 2nd, 2025 to June 9th, 2025. I gave this book 5 stars. This book was so good. And I know that not everyone feels that way about this series, but I just think it was really well done, especially for an author who's so young. Like, it's just really inspirational and admirable. Like, the fact that she could do this at such a young age, it's so inspiring. So yeah, this book, there was a lot going on. A lot, especially with the different bloodlines. Oh my god. trying to figure out who was related to who was very confusing. I did predict a few of the things that happened, but I was still shocked and I was crying throughout this book like I've never cried before. So, if a book makes you cry, I mean, what more praise can you give it than that? I'm not going to say too much about this book since it is the third book in the series, and if I were to talk about the plot, it would kind of spoil the previous book. Can't really say much, but loved the romance, loved the slow burn, loved the yearning. It was all very well done. Very good book. I loved it. The next book I read was another book on my Kindle. It was, no judgment please, A Soul to Keep. I read it from June 10th, 2025 to June 19th, 2025, and I gave it 3.9 stars. Very interesting rating. I don't think I've ever given a book that rating. I think I was just very confused with where to put this book. It started really strong and I was very intrigued going into it. Then it really slowed down in the middle. It got really repetitive and I was kind of just like, oh my god, this is kind of just getting boring. And then within the last 25% of the book, it picked up again and I got really invested and excited about, finding out what was going to happen at the end. And I got a lot of like shivers and it's pretty rare for a book to do that, so that was really cool. Did I cry in this book? I can't remember if I cried in this book, but it was a good book. Basically it's about this girl. She's in a village and her whole family was eaten by demons when she was a kid, and then she was taken in by the village and kind of like shunned into a house in isolation where she couldn't look at or talk to or interact with anyone because everyone was scared that she was cursed and that if they were to interact with her that more demons would come because they believed that her family died because of her curse. This lovely fellow here, he is a Duskwalker and he provides this service for the village every 12 years to protect their village with some of his protection magic, but in order to do that he has to get a sacrifice, and so she ended up being the chosen sacrifice by the entire village where she didn't really have much of a choice. And then she kind of gets to learn more about him and kind of see where he comes from and why he is the way he is, how he came to be, all that fun stuff. And we get to kind of go along with them on their journey as they start to develop feelings for each other. And the concept is really great, but yeah, like I said, the middle was just really repetitive and I was like, okay, I get it, you guys like each other and you have obstacles that you have to face and there's demons that are surrounding your house, so you have to be careful about where you're going and everything, but like it just got very repetitive where I was kind of just like, can we get some new conflict, please? I'm over the demon conflict. Anyway, this is a series. I don't know if I'm going to continue it. Maybe in the future. But as of right now, I have no interest in it. It was a good first book. I don't know if I'm interested in the next ones or not. Like I said, we'll see. But yeah, for now, I'm happy to leave it at this one. It was, it was pretty good. So the next book I read, I don't have on my Kindle and I don't have the physical book. That book is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Ever since this book came out, I have wanted to read it so badly, but I hadn't finished Mockingjay. And so like once I finished Mockingjay and then I got through those other books I wanted to finish and I had enough money to I like waited for my credit to come, and then once I had my credit on Audible, I was able to buy the audiobook and listen to it. And the reason I did that and I didn't read the physical copy, I did mention this in previous videos. The reason for that is that I really want to get the matching cover to Mockingjay this new cover that came out this year. It's not out in Sunrise on the Reaping yet, so I'm waiting until that comes out until I get the physical version of Sunrise on the Reaping. That's why I ended up listening to the audiobook. So, Sunrise on the Reaping, I read from June 16th, 2025 to June 20th, 2025. I kind of just listened to it like on my commute to work, on my commute to, wherever I was going that day. and and then eventually I was like, okay, I'm hammering this out one evening, and then I finished it. So yeah, it was a nice quick listen. I gave this book 4 stars. It was really good. It was a really good book. It was very complex and deep, just like all of the Hunger Games books typically are. I think there was just like, for me specifically, there wasn't a lot of romance. The romance was very in the background, which is the same with the Hunger Games, but at least with the Hunger Games, it was kind of like the two love interests were together for all the books. Well, not the third book, the first part of the third book, but they were still like a bigger portion of the plot, whereas this one, it was like very subplot. So I think that was a big reason why this book wasn't ranked or rated higher. It was still a very good book. And I was reading some of like the worst, like the lower ratings and reviews of this book, and some of their points were pretty valid. Like, there was a lot of unnecessary name dropping of certain characters just for the fact that like people would know those people, and it would get it would make them excited. Um, so I could definitely see that point of view, but it definitely didn't distract me from the book, and I still really enjoyed it. Um, so yeah, I think 4 stars. 4 stars is fair for me at least, because I still really enjoyed the book. It wasn't necessarily a favorite, but it was really good. It was just really nice and interesting to be able to kind of see like where Haymitch came from, why he is the way he is, why he does what he does. Very interesting, especially to get all the Easter eggs from like, like Lucy Gray and Snow and like everything. It was just really cool to kind of get backstory on a lot of that stuff. I can't believe I'm already at the end. 6 books is not a lot of books. The last book I read, I just finished this book last night. It's The Summer I Turned Pretty. I read this from June 20th, 2025 to June 26th, 2025, and I gave this book 4.8 stars. I really liked this book. This book is very teen YA, which I really appreciate because I've been reading a lot of adult books recently, and it's so nice to just kind of like go back to like where it all started for me, which is kind of more teen books, and just get to read something that's super easy and super lighthearted and fun. It's so much more, it's just very relaxing, you don't feel like super pressured with super long books or really tiny writing, because like the writing in this is nice and big, and the spacing in the margins is also very big. And this book is only 276 pages long, so it was so nice to get through this. Like, it was just, there was no stress, no pressure. It's about this girl who has been going to this beach house every year since she was a baby. And she goes there with her brother, her mom, and they visit the family that owns it, which is these 2 boys and their mom. And basically the 2 moms knew each other when they were young, and so they always go back there with their kids. And this year is a bit of a different year for the main character because she is 15, so she's gone through some changes, and she feels pretty. She feels pretty now, and so things are a bit different for her than, when she was younger. So she gets to navigate all of her new feelings, and yeah, I'm excited to continue this series. I just bought the next 2 books in the series that I can continue it. I'm very excited to keep reading it. It's just super low key and fun, and yeah, I really like it. So that is the last book I read this month. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Hi, puppy, you're so cute. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my book sleeve for Attached at the Hip by Christine Riccio. Amazing booktuber. So that book I got a few days ago. I am reading it currently. I did take the sleeve off. So I am on page 51 in this beautiful book. I'm really liking it so far. This will be in my July reading wrap up for sure. I'm kind of just getting started, so I definitely won't finish this for June, which is why I'm recording this now. This book is about finding love on an island on a spin-off show of Survivor. It is so good so far. I love this book so far. I've been watching her YouTube videos ever since I started reading and started like seriously reading in 2017. I still haven't read any of her books, which I feel really bad about. As soon as I heard the premise of this book that she wrote, I was like, oh my god, I have to read this. I'm so happy that I'm finally reading one of her books. It's really good so far, so can't wait to give my thoughts on that when I finish it. That was the 6 books I read in June of 2025. I never got around to my bookshelf tour, but I did make some shorts that kind of popped off. I was very surprised by that. Thank you for watching if you did. As always, I don't make these for the masses, I make them for me. So if you didn't, that's fine. I'm just happy to record my feelings so that I can go back and, you know, see how I felt about things. But if you did enjoy, I'm very happy that you did, and I hope that you continue to keep coming back and watching my videos. Yeah, I'll definitely see you at the end of July for that month's reading wrap up. If not, hopefully it's sooner. We will have to see what happens. But alas, have a good rest of your day or night, and I'll see you in the next one.